Hello, my name is Roger Spears, and I am the Cybersecurity Training Coordinator at Northwest State Community College. Today I wanted to talk to you about cybersecurity. It's all over the news these days with the election and the latest happenings this past weekend with some ransomware. And I also wanted to talk about cyber culture. Here's some of the breaches you may have heard of over the last few years and some figures listed with how many accounts or how many credit cards and debit cards were affected. I don't know about you, I was certainly involved with some of these. I received letters in the mail and got some credit protection. So these are some of the things that can happen, and we're talking about some serious numbers here in the millions. Adobe, I think, was probably the biggest with 135 million accounts/records that were breached. Here's one of the most recent attacks that have happened, and you've probably heard of that, and the most recent news is WannaCrypt. This is the type of screen you would have seen if you became a victim of this one. It locks you out of your files. Your files are encrypted, and you can't get them decrypted unless you pay the ransom that they want to have. That's why it's called ransomware. And I believe it's in Bitcoin. This particular attack expects you to pay in Bitcoin, if you know what that is. One of the really most famous attacks you may or may not have heard of, you probably have at this point, was Stuxnet. And what was interesting about this, it went against a nuclear operation, a centrifuge, Iranian centrifuges. What was really neat about it, or interesting, was that it started with a thumb drive, because this type of network is so important and so many bad things can happen if it gets attacked. It's air-gapped, which means it's not connected to the internet. There's no connection for this type of network to the outside world. Pretty secure stuff, unless somebody plugs in a thumb drive that's infected, and that's what happened here. That's the speculation of what happened here. So when we talk about cybersecurity and we talk about culture, sometimes you can run into issues with hardware where hardware creates issues, but more importantly and most commonly, what is the weakest link? Can you take a guess? It's actually the human factor, and we see this most common recently with WannaCrypt. People are clicking links in emails that they shouldn't click. It comes down to the human element. There's always technology involved. It could be email servers, routers, switches, modems, wireless, cell phones, all kinds of fun things. So there can be a technology side of it and how to set that technology up and make sure it's proper and secure. But there's always the human factor. There needs to be that culture change among us, which is what I'm asking. What needs to happen? We need to have a culture change with cybersecurity. In the past, security was always an afterthought. Let's achieve this goal, and then let's think about security. Let's get it working, and then we'll make it secure, which, as you see, doesn't work that well so far in our society. Security needs to become part of our culture, and we need to do that. We need to make it so as we're doing these things and achieving our goals along the way, we actually include security as part of that process. What can you do? How can you get involved? I'm glad you asked. Northwest State is going to offer 2 cyber programs. The first one's going to be in the fall. It's going to be a short-term certificate, which means it is less than 30 credit hours. The short-term certificate, starting in the fall, is going to be 1 semester, 16 weeks, 5 courses, 15 credit hours. Well, how are we going to fit 5 courses into 16 weeks? Glad you asked. The first 8 weeks is going to have 2 courses, and we'll meet 2 nights a week, 5:30 to 9:30. That's what we're thinking so far, subject to change. The second 8 weeks, there'll be 3 courses, and that will meet 3 nights a week, 5:30 to 9:30. And then starting in January of 2018, we're going to have a 2-year degree program in cybersecurity. If you were to do the short-term certificate, you would start out ahead of everybody else. You'd have the 15 credit hours, and you can start right into the 2-year degree program with the 15 credit hours. During these programs, you'll learn about the culture change that needs to happen, and you also will learn about the technical side of cybersecurity. How do you configure a router? How do you configure a switch? The whole network to be more secure. What type of intrusion prevention system, what type of intrusion detection system, how to configure that, all kinds of fun things. We will work with different software packages. You'll work with Wireshark to learn how to capture packets off your network, monitor what's going on so you can see traffic real time. You'll learn to use Nmap, which is a mapping software to map out the assets on your network, so you'll know everything that's on your network. And we'll use a framework like Metasploit that allows you to probe your network and look for vulnerabilities and issues and find them and to see how severe they are in action before the bad people do that are trying to attack your network. Sounds interesting, right? You want to be involved. You want to be involved in the culture change, and you also want to gain that technical knowledge of how this equipment works and how to make it more safe. Give me a call. Get a hold of me. Shoot me an email. Here's all my contact information. I look forward to talking to you about our programs and how you can be involved in that culture change and learning the technology and how to make it work properly. Stay secure.